as most of you know, my name is Troy Lynette, and I'm with 5 Rings Financial. 5 Rings is a lot like a Merrill Lynch, an A.G. Edwards, a Charles Schwab, only where they focus on millionaires, we very purposely focus on middle-income Americans. What we've learned is people would really rather be taught what to do with their money rather than told what to do with their money. Most people end up at this workshop because a friend or a family member attended, they liked what they learned, and they invited you to come learn what we teach. We're glad that you're here. There's 2 groups of people that normally attend our workshop. The first is somebody that's never saved any money before. And it's not just the 20-year-olds. The average American is 53 years old before they start saving for retirement. And it's not too unusual if you think about it. We go to school, oftentimes we meet our spouse, and then we get out of school, we buy a house, we get married, we start having kids, we send our kids off to college, and then we think, wow, I have not been saving for retirement like I really need to be. That group of people comes to learn principles of saving money. The second group of people are people that have saved some money. Maybe they have a 401k or an IRA, but the craziness of the stock market has been like a roller coaster, and a lot of people are asking themselves, can I get off? And I'm here to tell you that you can. You can earn a decent interest rate on your money, and you can retire in dignity. There's 2 things that are quite a bit different about our class than others. The first is we didn't take your name and phone number and email and do a retina scan so that we could call and drive you crazy after this meeting. We believe our information is important and vital, and we're happy to share it. The second thing that's different is there's nothing for sale tonight. There's no link at the end of this. There's no pressure, push to sell you something. We really only work with people that volunteer. The main thing people are wondering often when they come to our class is, what's going to happen in my retirement? What's happened before? What could happen? What are my options? And oftentimes when somebody attends our workshop and at the end they have some questions, we get to sit down with you and talk about the retirement savings teeter-totter. Now on this teeter-totter there's 2 sides. There's a risk side and there's a safe side. On the risk side are things like mutual funds, stocks, gold, and who knew, but real estate would end up on the risk side of the equation back in 2008. Half of Americans lost half the value in their home, and it wasn't until just a few years ago that a lot of them got back to even. Now on the safe side are things like money market accounts or CDs, and sometimes a little bit of money under the mattress. And I say that to be funny, but I was talking to a good friend earlier this year, and he said his dad had tens of thousands of dollars hid all over the house. He had it frozen in the freezer. He had it hid in Band-Aid containers underneath the counter. He was like, Dad, you can't do that. What if something happens and we need to find this money? But why was he doing that? If we look back into the 80s, the stock market went up and up and up until around the year 2000, it hit a high. And a lot of us had made a lot of money, maybe got a little too confident with what was in the market, because then in 2001, that was our first opportunity to lose almost half of our retirement savings, some up to 42%. And at that point, we suggested to some of our clients, you might want to move some of your money from risk and into safe. And what they said is, this will never happen again. And sure enough, for a while the market went up and up and up, and back in 2007, it had got back to just about even. And how's that for a retirement strategy, an investment strategy? If somebody came and asked for all of our money and said, I'll invest it for you, and in 7 years I guarantee you to get back to even, we'd say, that's crazy. That's not an investment strategy. Hit the door. And yet if you could Google back in 2007, people were ecstatic that they had got back to even. Well then, as we know, 2008 happened, and that was our second opportunity to lose half of our retirement savings, up to 54%. This was my father-in-law's year to retire. And think about that for a minute. What if that was your year to retire? I just talked to a chiropractor today whose dad worked for the firefighters, and that was his year to retire. And he's been working ever since to make that money back so that he could finally retire. Well, at that point, 71% of Americans did move their money from risk and into safe because they started saying, when is this going to happen again? Well, since then, The market has been up and up and up, and I'm no Nostradamus, but we're now in the year 2018 and we're at the third all-time high. Now, the first couple years, for the folks that moved their money into SAFE, they weren't making very much money on their money, because what does the average money market and CD pay? It's been anywhere from 0.1% to 0.5%. Just recently, one of them got over 1%. But at least they said, at least I'm not losing any money. But the last 5 or 6 years, people are frustrated because they're not making any money on their money. So you have these two groups of people, one that's really frustrated and one that's just scared to go back into the market because they can't lose again. It's their time to retire. And we started asking this question. If we could wave a magic wand and we could say, where on this teeter-totter would you like to be? If you could pick your ideal place, where would it be? What most people say is they'd like to be right in the middle. And what do they mean by that? All of us love the upside of the market. That's the exciting part, right? But what's the downside? There's an equal opportunity to lose. Not good. On the safe side, what we love about the safe side is the 0% floor. Guaranteed never to lose. And then people laugh and say, but something like that doesn't exist. Well, I've learned just a little bit of French from way back in high school. The two words I know right now are au contraire. It does exist, and it exists in something called an indexed account. Now, what I'd like to do is take a step back, and I'd like to talk to the group of people that came here to learn principles of saving money. I'm going to go back 33 years to a guy by the name of Mike. Mike got a postcard in the mail that invited him to a workshop just like the one you're seeing tonight. And he thought, this is definitely not for me. I have no money to invest. But he thought, man, somebody must have put the wrong name on the wrong postcard. I got it. I'm going to go and I'm going to learn what the wealthy teach. So he went, and that night Jim was the speaker, and Mike loved what he learned. He learned the same principles of saving and protecting money that you guys are learning tonight. And at the end of the workshop, Mike tried to cut out the back. Well, Jim raced and met him at the back door and said, Mike, where are you going? I think we can help you. And Mike said, Jim, there's no way. I'm $30,000 in debt. I don't know if you realize, but $30,000 in debt today is like, or back then, 30 years ago, is like $100,000 in debt today. Can you imagine being $100,000 in debt on credit cards? He also told Jim, I'm living paycheck to paycheck. I have no money. And Jim said, I tell you what, if you'll give me an hour of your time, I'll come over and we'll see what we can figure out. Mike thought, okay, I learned a lot from the seminar, why not? So he invited Jim over. A week later, Jim's in Mike's house, and he said this. He said, Mike, I have the greatest job in the world. I get to teach people about something that everybody wants, and that's a giant pile of money in retirement. And he asked Mike this question. Mike, could you save $5 a day? I'll ask all you guys the same question. Could you save $5 a day? Okay, I've got a hand. Okay, some nods, yeah. Okay, so what Jim said was this. $5 a day over 40 years at a decent interest rate grows to $1 million. Mike got excited, and then he had the deer in the headlights look. And Jim said, Mike, what just happened there? And Mike thought for a minute, and he said, well, I might be able to save $5 a day, but there's no way that I can save $150 a month. And what did he do there, right? We often think about our money in months. 5 times 30, $150, that's part of the house payment. That's part of a car payment or the cell phone bill or food on the table. And Jim said, it's okay, Mike, no problem. We have a program where we put all of your finances in a funnel. Your insurances, your savings, your tax return, and out of the bottom, we find you money in your budget. And what they found for Mike that night was $200. Money that was already part of his budget after they refinanced his finances. Now, if you feed this $200 back into this same equation, that grows to $1.5 million. Well, Mike was very excited at that. That night he had a $1.5 million savings and investment program. Jim saw that he was excited, and he said, Mike, would you be interested in coming to work with us on a part-time basis in addition to what you already do? And Mike said, Jim, I don't know that I can do what you do. And Jim said, well, I don't know if you can either, but if you're willing, we have an apprentice program. I'll train you, teach you everything that I know. Mike thought, sure, why not? What's the worst that can happen? He started working with Jim, and 18 months later, he had paid off his $30,000 in debt, and he was making more working with Jim than he was in his construction management job. And he got himself voluntarily fired. And that's how our company, 5 Rings Financial, was born. Now, who wishes that I would have showed up at your high school graduation and taught you that $5 a day would grow to $1 million? Yeah, I've got a number of excited waves there. Okay, here's the better question though. Who would have had the discipline to actually save it? Okay, I have less excited. Okay, I got one hand. Okay, that's good. Less excited hands on that, right? I have the same problem. But that's the first principle of saving money. The time value of money, that $5 a day will grow to $1 million. The second principle of saving money is compound interest. When Albert Crazy Hair Einstein discovered compound interest, he called it the 8th wonder of the world. And there was a formula that he came up with to estimate how compound interest works. And here's what that formula is. It's called the rule of 72. And it states that if you take 72 divided by the interest rate, you'll get the number of years it takes for your money to double. So let's use an example. Say you're earning 1% interest. 72 divided by 1 is 72, right? Some free advice, avoid 1% interest. But 72 divided by 1, your money will double in 72 years. Let's run through a fun example. So say there were 3 sisters, and their uncle left them each $5,000, and they're 29 years old. There's 2 rules with this money. First of all, you have to lump sum the money into an account, and second of all, you can't touch it until you're 65 years old. The first sister goes to the bank, and we'll be generous with the banker, and let's say the banker gets her 4% interest. So into this formula, 72 divided by 4 is 18. Her money's going to double every 18 years. So 29 plus 18 is 47, plus 18 is 65. Her 5,000 is going to double to 10,000, and then double again to $20,000. Everybody see how I did that math? Okay, perfect. The magic of compound interest. 2 doublings over that period of time. The second sister comes to our workshop and she learns that she can average 8% on her money. 72 divided by 8 is every 9 years. Her money's going to double every 9 years. 29 plus 9 is 38, plus 9 is 47. Her 5 doubles to 10, doubles again to 20, and she matches her sister, but she's only 47 years old. She has 2 more doublings. So 47 plus 9 is 56, plus 9 is 65. Her 20,000 doubles to 40,000 and doubles again to $80,000. Now, is that a big difference or is that a little difference? That's a huge difference, right? What if we went into work tomorrow and our boss said, you can either have a $20,000 a year raise or an $80,000 a year raise? That's a huge difference, right? Okay, third sister says, I've seen 12% in the past. I think we'll see it again in the future, and I know it's not going to be year over year. But what does 12% do into this same equation? 72 divided by 12 is every 6 years. Her money's going to double every 6. 29 plus 6 is 35, plus 6 is 41, plus 6 is 47, plus 6 is 53. Her 5 doubles to 10, doubles to 20, doubles to 40, doubles to $80,000, and she's matched her second sister, but she's only 53 and also has 2 more doublings. So 53 plus 6 is 59, plus 6 is 65. Her $80,000 doubles to $160,000 and doubles again to $320,000. Here's what I saw when I first saw this. I didn't know as much about compound interest as I thought I did. I thought it took huge interest rates year over year in the market to really be successful in the money game. And we didn't go from 4 to 40. We went from 4 to 8 to 12. We made small interest rate changes over a large period of time. They say it like this: compound interest, those that understand it earn it, and those that don't pay it. This also works against us, especially on credit cards. So that's the second principle of saving money. Let's talk about the third principle. When we talk to the wealthy, what they say is they grow as much money as possible in non-taxable accounts. I'm going to do a comparison of growing money in a non-taxable account versus a taxable account. And we're going to give these two groups of people the same deal. We're going to tell them, we'll give you $1 and we'll double it every year for 20 years. In the non-taxable account, we're going to go to Mr. and Mrs. Wealthy American and give them this deal. 1 will double to 2, we'll double to 4, we'll double to 8. And if we do that for 20 years, that's going to grow into $1,048,000. Two things with this example. First of all, there's nothing on the planet that will double your money every year. We did have one gentleman that said, what about Vegas, red and black? We said, no money, no retirement money goes to Vegas. He said, well, come on, they give me free drinks though. And as all of you know, those can be very expensive free drinks, right? So two things to keep in mind. This account, no tax, and of course, nothing on the planet that will double your money. Now let's go over to this example. We'll go to Mr. and Mrs. Middle American. They may go to a bank, and if they buy a CD at a bank, not sure if you know this or not, but a CD is taxable every year. So when this $1 doubles to 2, there's $1 of gain that's taxable. Uncle Sam wants his tax. Let's use 28% as the tax rate. So 2, you don't actually end up with 2, you end up with $1.72. We're going to do the same deal though. We're going to double this for 20 years, but each year we have to tax it. So $1.72 doubles to $3.44, and $3.44 taxes down to $2.96. $2.96 doubles to $5.92, and $5.92 taxes down to $5.09. So if we double and tax and double and tax and double and tax this account, just like we did this account, what do you guys think that this account grows to? Now, if you already know the answer, don't type it in the chat. But I want you to think of a number in your head. What do you think? If this one grows to $1,048,000, what does this account grow to? Our most popular guess is $700,000. Our second most popular guess is $250,000. I tell you what, whoever gets closest and whoever invited you, they're going to have to buy you free pie. Okay, you ready for the real answer? All right. The real answer is $51,353. Only a $1 million difference between growing your money in a non-taxable account versus growing money in a taxable account. One of the most powerful concepts we teach right here. Now, I often have somebody thinking, okay, we grew this money in a non-taxable account, but don't I have to pay taxes on it? Let's say that you do, and let's say that the tax rate is 50%. That's still, when you tax that at 50%, that's still $524,000, only a 10 times difference in growing your money in a non-taxable account. Most powerful thing we teach. And these are the 3 principles of saving money. The first, the time value of money. That $5 a day will grow to $1 million. Secondly, compound interest. Those that understand it earn it. Those that don't pay it. And finally, grow as much money as possible in non-taxable accounts. Okay, I want to take a step forward now, and I want to talk to that group of people that's interested in protecting the money that they already have. When we first got started, I mentioned an account called an indexed account. The best definition I've heard for an indexed account is the ability to protect your money guaranteed from any loss while passively participating in the upside of the market. The number one way money comes into an indexed account is through a rollover, like a 401k or an IRA or a TSP. When the wealthy put this account together, the beautiful thing is they gave it the same tax code as all of the retirement vehicles that we use today. So we're allowed to transfer money from one to another with no penalties and no fees. And one thing to think about too is if you have a 401k from a previous employer, you might consider moving it where you have control over it. We had a lady a while back that had $40,000 in her 401k at Circuit City. And she had left Circuit City. She didn't really know quite what was going on with the company. Well, what happened is when Circuit City went out of business, so did her 401k because it was invested in Circuit City stock. And she got a check in the mail for $1,000. So anyhow, you might think about, if you have a 401k, taking ownership and control of that. The second way money comes into an indexed account is just a big pile of money. We had a gentleman one time that had $40,000 hidden in coffee cans in his woodshed out back. When we rolled his money in, it smelled really good. And the final way money comes into an indexed account is just through a monthly deposit. Like we talked about earlier, $5 a day, $150 a month, $150 a month. Again, the number one thing that an indexed account does is it protects your money from any downside. Contractually guarantees you will not lose any money. And in fact, nobody has ever lost money in an indexed account due to stock market performance. The second thing it does is it allows you to passively participate in the market. The money sits on the sidelines, it's not in the market. Let's use this example though. Let's say the market goes up, it goes down, and it goes up. Could that happen in the market? Yeah, like in January or right now this is happening? I looked at my 401k with my company today, which I'm not allowed to move because I work there, and it just keeps going down. It's kind of frustrating. The way an indexed account works is it looks at a 12-month period. If the market goes up during that 12-month period, let's say the first 12-month period it goes up 8%. The indexed account looks at the market and it credits the indexed account plus 8%. So when the market goes up, the indexed account goes up. Let's say the next 12-month period was a down period and we lost 8%. Well, because like I said, even the gain is guaranteed not to lose. So this is your new starting point after year 2, guaranteed not to go down. So that second year, the account gets credited a 0. And some people say, are you serious? You want to offer me 0% on my money? Well, if we could rewind the clock all the way back to 2008, would anybody be interested in 0%? Yeah, for sure, right? All of us that had money in the market would have loved that at the time. 0 is your hero when the market crashes like it did in 2008. Now, when there's a floor on something, there's also normally a ceiling on something. So if you think about the ceiling on an indexed account, let's use as an example 13%. And let's say the market that third year went up 16%. Well, what happens is it hits that ceiling and your account is credited that 13%. And sometimes we ask people this question, how much of the upside of the market would you be willing to give up if you knew you could never lose? It's an interesting thing to think about. Now, we had a client that came to our workshop one time and he said, okay, I think I get it. So an indexed account goes up when the market goes up. It's guaranteed never to lose. Can you run me a real world example? Back in 2000, I had lost quite a bit of money, but I had $100,000 left in my retirement account. Can you run a comparison to show me what would the market have done compared to an indexed account? And we said, sure. So the first year, the year 2000, was a down year. So what does an indexed account do when the market goes down? Right, it gets a 0, right? So 0 that year. The second year of the market, it was also a down year. So another 0. Third year, market went up, so the indexed account also went up. Fourth year, market went down a little bit again. That was another 0 year for the indexed account. And the final year was an up year in both the market and the indexed account. At the end of that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-year period, if we compare these two, the market account had about $94,000 in it. Just about back to even. The indexed account, because it never lost any money, it was actually up at $126,000. That's quite a big difference. But what he's told us is, okay, I know if 05 was a good year, 06 was a good year, and 07 was a good year. And he was right. So the indexed account also grew those 2 years. Then we, of course, reminded him that the next year was 2008, and that was our opportunity to lose 54%. The market account ended with a balance of $68,000. Now, what happened to the indexed account? In 2008, 0 is our hero, right? It stayed the same. It didn't lose any money, and it had grown to $148,000. Huge difference between what happens when you really don't have to do this right here. And what do we call this in a market account? Is that a gain? No, it's not, right? We're making up for loss. An indexed account never has to make up for loss because of the way that it was designed. Now, one of the questions that we get is, why don't my broker or my banker, why haven't I heard about this kind of account before? Now, if we think about a market account, the way a market account works is there are the fees associated with it. There's quite a number of books written right now that talks about some of the fees that we see and some of the hidden fees that are in mutual funds, like how much money they keep in cash or how much turnover they have year over year. There's some of these other fees that we don't even hear about. An indexed account is what we call a no fee-based account. There's never any money that comes out of, in this example, the $100,000 to pay fees. It never happens. So we're not anti-stock market, we're not anti-stock broker, but we are pro-safe. We call this swan insurance, sleep well at night. Now, if you could go back to 2008, would you rather have your money in the indexed account or in the market account? Or if this ever happens again, would you prefer to have your money in one of those accounts? This is the strongest recommendation that we can make for the retirement money that you'd like to know that you know will never lose again. One of the most powerful things that I learned when I first learned about this. Okay, so that's the first principle of protecting money. The second principle is the 3 stages, and then I'll wrap us up. So if we think about the 3 stages of money, if we were going to build a house, what would be the first thing that we would do? We would build a foundation, right? We call that foundation protection. That's the protection phase. That's your 401k or your IRA or your savings if it's set up like we talked about. 95% of our clients never leave the protection phase. They don't need to, and oftentimes they don't want to. The second stage of money is called risk, and risk is the stock market. Now, most of us didn't end up in the stock market because we chose to. We started working for a company that offered us a 401k, and occasionally they said, hey, if you put money in the 401k, we'll match it, and suddenly we're in the stock market. Now, originally, when 401ks were born, they were meant to supplement pensions. But as we know, in most cases, the pensions went away, and all of our retirement money was at risk. The third stage of money is called distribution, and this is where we're experts. Let's say you're 65 years old, and you've saved up $1 million. Congratulations, by the way. But you say, I'd like to take all my money, I'm moving to the equator, I'm going to live on the beach. How much of that money do you get to keep versus have to pay Uncle Sam in taxes? We hear answers like 80-20, 60-40. Occasionally in Colorado, there's a guy with a brownie in the back of the room that says 70-10. Well, the real answer is if you don't have distribution set up correctly, you're lucky to get 60 cents on the dollar. we have a program called Tax-Free Indexed Account that's designed specifically for this purpose. And this is the way this works. Every dollar that goes into a tax-free indexed account grows non-taxable. 1 doubles to 2, doubles to 4, doubles to 8. And every dollar that comes out of a tax-free indexed account comes out tax-free. And it comes out for any purpose at any age. Oftentimes we're asked, can this be used as a college savings program? And the answer is yes, it can. And in fact, you guys may know about a 529 plan. A lot of people use that to save money for college. And it does similar things. It grows non-taxable, it comes out tax-free. The challenge is it's only for an accredited college. So say your daughter wants to go to France to be a cupcake chef. Sorry, can't use the 529 money. Or your son wants to be a YouTuber, start his own business. Sorry, there's no college to be a YouTuber, so you can't use that money. There's another really cool benefit as well. If you go to fill out the FAFSA forms and you have $100,000 saved up, you have to report that as an asset. In the tax-free index account, because you're growing money and protecting it, they've made that an asset that is protected, and you don't even have to report it when you go to ask for financial aid. Oftentimes we call this account $1 million baby account. Maybe you know somebody that's had a baby in the last 10 years. They could set this up and they could grow money and they could use it for their first car, or they could use it to pay for college. You could in fact get the loans, you could go to college and you could pay the loans off after college. You could use it to start a business or for that year abroad when they want to find themselves. You could even just let it ride and you could use it as retirement income. A couple other ways you could use this account. Say you're a business owner and you pay taxes on your money, but you don't need to spend it right now. You could put it in a tax-free indexed account. You could grow it, take it out tax-free later. Also, if you're 70 years old and the government is forcing you to take RMDs, and by the way, why does the government do that? Because they want their tax, right? So in any case, say you're having to do that, but you don't need the money. Same thing. You could put the money in this account. You could pull it out whenever you wanted and needed to use it tax-free. One of the most powerful ways to grow and protect money is this right here. All right, one more concept for protection and we'll wrap ourselves up for the night. The final piece of protecting really your ability to earn your life is called living benefits. The way living benefits works is like this. We all go through life earning some amount of income and some amount of expenses. And by the way, keep income above expenses. I've tried it the other way and it's no fun. But oftentimes what happens is we're going through that and we hit this thing called a negative life event. And what do I mean when I say that? I want you to think of somebody that's had cancer, or somebody that's had a heart attack or a stroke. It happens to a lot of our friends, right? And what typically happens when that occurs? Income goes down and expenses go up. And where these two meet, 62% of the people end up having to file for bankruptcy. And it's not because they didn't have health insurance. A lot of people do have health insurance, but what doesn't health insurance pay? It doesn't pay the deductibles, and a lot of us have high deductible health plans now. It doesn't pay the house payment, it doesn't pay for food, it doesn't even pay for Netflix. And what do we do when we're recovering from something like this but binge watch Netflix? What living benefits does, quite simply, is it gives us access to a big pile of money, and when this negative life event happens, it turns on an income stream so that your income stays above the increased expenses. Now I'm going to use life insurance as the example. Now what is life insurance for? No, actually, let me ask that a different way. Who is life insurance for? It's not for us, right? It's for them. And what do we have to do to get that? We have to die. It should be called death insurance, not life insurance. But what is it designed to do? It's designed to put 10 years of my income in the bank for my wife, to pay off my home, to pay off any debts that we have, to put $100,000 in the bank for each kid to go to college, and $50,000 in the bank to bury me, and so my wife can take her new husband on an amazing vacation. And it's not for her, it's for him. He needs to learn. These are mighty big shoes to fill. What living benefits does is it ties into your term life insurance, and it gives access to this big pile of money, basically 75% of your death benefit, where we can turn on that income stream and avoid going into bankruptcy. There's a number of different ways that it pays. The first one is for a terminal illness. We had a lady 15 years ago that was battling cancer, and she went back and forth with her doctor trying all kinds of different things to get rid of this cancer. At the end of that 2-year period, the doctor said, "I am really sorry, but I have to tell you that you're terminal." She said, "No, this can't be. I'm a single mom. There's no parents in the picture. They've already passed away. What in the world am I going to do?" So she went home and she called her insurance agent, told him what was going on, and he said, "Hold on, you have living benefits." They submitted a claim to the insurance company. She got a check for $100,000. She paid for an experimental surgery, and she's still alive today. That should be called living benefits. The second way it pays is for a critical illness. A critical illness are the ones that we've talked about, and a number of others. So it's the heart attack and cancer and stroke. It's ALS. It's a cognitive impairment. You hit your head and you're cuckoo. You have severe burns. You lose a limb or an organ. All of those qualify for critical illness, and you get access to up to 75% of the death benefit of the term life insurance policy. We have an agent out in California. Her name's Nicole, and she was talking to a friend of hers. She got her a tax-free indexed account as a college savings plan for her daughter. And then at the end of that, she asked her, "By the way, do you have any life insurance?" The answer was yes. "Okay, do you have the new kind or the old kind?" "I don't know." They checked, she had the old kind, the death-only kind. They converted it to living benefits life insurance, basically at the same price. Well, 2 years later, about a year ago, she called up Nicole and she said, "Nicole, I've just been diagnosed with a really aggressive form of cancer." She said, "Wow, okay, let's call the insurance company." They submitted a claim. She got a check for $300,000 of her $400,000 term life insurance policy. She was able to quit her job. She was able to get naturopathic care. She took a trip with her daughter back to Europe to see her parents. She came back to California and she started her dream career as a John Maxwell coach, and she never missed a beat financially. The third way living benefits pays is for a chronic illness. A chronic illness is a lot like long-term care. It's when you can't do 2 of your 7 activities of daily living. So as an example, my wife would laugh at this one because I actually did slide off the roof, but in Colorado we get a lot of snow. And sometimes the roof gets slippery, and sometimes we're crazy enough to go take our Christmas lights down in February. Well, say you slip off your roof, you break your back, and you're in a wheelchair and you can't feed yourself. That would trigger the chronic illness portion of living benefits, and you would get paid up to 75% of your death benefit, and they pay that typically over some period of time, 50 months. And it's designed to replace your income, so again, you never miss a beat financially. The last way it pays is if you die. But we know this. We know that we're all 8 times more likely to collect on this policy because of one of these things happening than this happening. And we also know this, that of all of the people in America that have life insurance, only 10% of them have living benefits life insurance. One of the missions that we have as a company is to make sure that everybody in the world knows that living benefits exists. It's the most powerful way to protect our ability to earn. A lot of times we ask people, what's the most valuable asset that you have? Oftentimes the answer that immediately comes to mind is our house. Well, in almost all cases, it's really our ability to earn income, to do what we do day to day. This protects your ability to earn. So there you have it. Those are the 3 principles of saving money, the 3 principles of protecting money. And I want to invite you to come back. I know this is a lot of information to go through in 50 minutes, and it's hard to take it all in. You're welcome to come back. And in fact, invite a friend or invite a family member. Maybe it's somebody that you know needs living benefits, and if they don't get it, you're going to be their living benefits. I say that in a little bit joking manner. Or maybe you know somebody that could really use or want an indexed account, like the father of the chiropractor I was talking to today that just can't afford to lose any more of his money. He'd love to have the account that goes up when the market goes up and sideways when the market goes down. Maybe you know somebody that's had a baby and they could really use a tax-free indexed account for college savings or for any of the other things that we have already talked about to grow their money non-taxable and access it tax-free. And like we talked about, maybe you just know somebody that could really use living benefits. Maybe you want to be the hero for that person, and when something potentially happens to them, you get to know that you're the one that introduced them into that. So again, thank you for coming. If you do nothing else, just reach out to the person that invited you today and thank them. Show some gratitude. Tell them what you liked best, what you learned. And like I said, you can also tell them that Troy said they owe you free pie.